From hockey YouTube to esports commentator and influencer Andrew Telfer, as I mentioned earlier, more commonly known as Nasher, is at the forefront of the NHL gaming community with 719,000 YouTube subscribers and 109,000 on Twitch. And he joins me now. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me today, mate. How you doing?
Oh, I'm living the dream, man. Feels good to be on here and appreciate you having me on the show.
No, I do. The pleasure is all mine. As I said, when I reached out to you, I've been watching and enjoying your content since the pandemic. It brought me a lot of entertainment, which is great. First up, I want to know, when you started your career back in 2012, you were uploading gameplay of the video game NHL 11. How did the name Nasher even come about?
Yeah, so Nasher, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, over here in the United States, and Rick Nash was drafted into the Blue Jackets organization. And the moment that he was drafted and went first overall, he was a guy that I looked up to as a kid, and I kind of took my game and took all of his move, and I decided to use his name to represent my own. So that's where the username came from, the legend Rick Nash.
Growing up in Columbus, you grew up with the Blue Jackets as they came through as an expansion team. Have you ever had the opportunity to meet Rick Nash?
I did, yeah. So we actually, they invited me out to the draft party where we got on stage and basically got to interview coaches, the GM, and then they actually surprised me up on the stage in front of, a big crowd at Nationwide Arena, and Rick Nash walked out onto the stage on me. So me and him had a face-to-face for the first time with, thousands of people in the stands. And the good news is he was actually pumped to meet me too. And, he enjoys my content, and he's got kids that are coming up and playing hockey as well. So, it felt great to meet him, and, I can represent his name well in the process too.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, it kind of shows the reach that your work has. And I know you and I share a common goal that we like to get as many people, passionate about hockey as possible. Of course, I have to say ice down in this part of the world so they know which form I'm talking about. But doing, what you do, and it takes you to some crazy places and provides some unique opportunities like meeting Rick Nash. What have been some of the highlights for you?
Yeah, I've been all over the map playing hockey and living the dream. I think what comes to mind in terms of the best moments was this last summer. They flew me out to Vegas for the NHL Player Media Tour, where basically they just take all the big names in the NHL and get them all in one place, and they'll go from station to station and do different things. So we got to set up an esports station where, every single name that you can think of came through this station, and I got to talk to him, one-on-one just for 15 minutes and play a game of NHL 23. So we got to face off against Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews and Cale Makar, all the big names. And that content's going to be coming out over the next couple months. So pumped for everyone to see that. But just getting the chance to meet those big names and just interact with them just like a normal person is such a cool opportunity.
Do you just kind of pinch yourself sometimes that things like that, like opportunities like that, are afforded to you after such humble beginnings with your YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's still surreal to me. I mean, every single day I wake up, I really am living the dream. Just waking up and getting to play video games, play NHL, and also just get out on the ice. I've started dabbling with, doing coaching and actual hockey training. And the places that this has led me is just unbelievable. So each day I wake up, I'm blessed, and never forget, how it all started and where I came from.
I mean, no doubt there might be people listening wondering, how do you even make a career out of YouTube? For you, at what point did you realize it was a viable option for you?
Yeah, so I went to college, and I went to the Ohio State University and got a marketing degree, and ended up getting a job at actually the Wendy's headquarters, which is here in Columbus. So I was working there for about 6 months, and as time was going on, my YouTube channel was starting to grow at the same time as well. So I had to make a bit of a difficult decision. I had this comfortable job at a good company, and everything was going well, but my YouTube channel it was what I was passionate about, right? So I'd be at work, working my 9 to 5, but in the back of my mind, I was just thinking about what video would be coming next, or the editing I was going to do when I got home. And that's when I realized, what would happen if I actually went all in on this thing. I dropped my actual job, my comfortable job, and started devoting all of my time to making this content. And that's where, I took that risk, quit my job, and started pursuing it full time. And I could say directly, like at that very moment, that's when everything changed and the numbers started to grow and the viewers started to go up and my content just took a step to a new direction.
I can imagine just like parents listening to this and hearing that, wondering. I mean, there's so many what ifs, right? There's only so many people that can break through. So, what kind of reaction did you get from your parents?
Yeah, my parents were actually very supportive of it. I have to thank them a lot for everything that's happened to me. Even day one back. So I started when I was in high school, and they purchased me a nice camera, and they got me the gear that I needed to make gaming videos. This was back in, like you mentioned earlier, this was 2011, 2012. There weren't a ton of people on YouTube, and definitely the people on YouTube were not making careers out of it. So they saw something that I'm passionate about, and they wanted to support it. So from the beginning, they have been nothing but supportive to me, and I have them to thank for that.
We're speaking with Andrew Telfer, known as Nasher, NHL YouTuber and influencer. One thing with ice hockey is being such an expensive sport, things like having the ability to ice skate can be another barrier as well for some, myself included. Could you see some competitive NHL esports being a greater career path for, like, say, some lucky kid in the future?
Yeah, that's always been my line of thinking with the videos that I make is, first of all, I want to spread the game of hockey to as many people that normally wouldn't see it. And I also want to give people the opportunities to play hockey that normally wouldn't get the chance. So that can be through a variety of different things. Like you said, gaming being one of them. I think maybe people who have never touched a hockey stick, never gotten on the ice, they can find my gaming videos and fall in love with them and fall in love with the sport of hockey through that. Also, I like to give people the opportunity to um, hop on the rink for the first time with roller hockey. That's something that's more accessible to anyone, anytime, any place. You can just go outside with your rollerblades on and play. So those are my two things is, we try to kind of bridge the gap, right? It can be
Hmm.
gaming videos to start. They find my gaming videos, then they hop into roller hockey, then they find a way to get onto the ice. And there's just different avenues for people to get involved with the beautiful game of hockey.
Here in down under in New Zealand, I mean, access to the NHL and those sort of top tier ice hockey leagues hasn't always been the easiest. And I know, especially in say the '90s, maybe the early 2000s, the EA NHL video games was the gateway to finding out about the sport, learning about the sport. What do you think makes those games attractive to those people that might not already have an affinity to the real world sport?
I think it's just like anything. I personally find myself more interested in football and soccer with Madden and FIFA, and I don't have the access or don't have the abilities to join leagues to play those sports. So just getting on, and I think especially with NHL, there's kind of a social component to it. So there's a mode called EASHL or World of Chell where you hop in and you can play 6v6 organized hockey with your friends in the game. I think having a mode like that where, this is essentially actual hockey. You control just one player on the ice, you're skating around, you have your roles out on the ice and your different positions, and you're playing the game. So giving the people the chance to kind of get a firsthand experience of what hockey is about, because it is a confusing sport, right? If you just watch it on TV and you had no idea what was going on, it's difficult to understand all the different rules and icing offside, all those different things. But if you pick up the game and start to play it, you can really understand the game and have your position and role in it.
Yeah, I feel that. I had my grandma around for Christmas, and we had NHL on TV, and she's just sitting there watching it, and just like blew her mind. Like, you watch, and how are these guys not getting tired? I'm like, well, they're only on the ice for like 40, 45 seconds at a time. But I mean, I think it is such a great gateway is to play, EA NHL and sort of learn that way. You learn the players, you learn the rules kind of at your own speed, and you can see the puck. I mean, that's obviously quite a common complaint I hear from people here in New Zealand. Now, with you, Nasher, I really have to ask this. You create so much content, right? You've done it for years, and you've focused on NHL. So, like, how do you avoid burnout?
Yeah, it's just like any other job, right? You start to feel the burnout. I think the thing for me has been always being true to myself and always innovating and finding new content as well. So even just within the last week, the EA NHL game. It's still fun and I still enjoy it, but I found a VR hockey game that I've been testing out. So I've got tiles down here in my basement, and there's an attachment that goes onto a stick, and you're actually swinging around an actual hockey stick and playing a game in virtual reality. Aside from that, too, the content that I really enjoy filming is just me playing hockey in real life. So I toss on a GoPro when I play, and we travel to different tournaments, across the country here in the United States. So I'm always just trying to find new and innovative content, whatever that may be. Sure, sometimes things do get a little repetitive and there is some burnout, but it's always just striving to find new things that people can continue to enjoy.
When you're finding things getting a bit repetitive, is there like another video game you like to just throw on just to kind of like reset yourself, like a palate cleanser in a way?
Yeah, I really like the competitive aspect, which is what originally kind of drew me into NHL. So I play some Valorant on the side. Me and my friends will dabble with some Call of Duty and everything, but those are my two games. It is kind of weird, like my career is in gaming, so to then, once I'm finished with my NHL, to hop on another game is not something I do too much, but yeah, I still like to game every now and then.
With sports games, typically there's a new release every year. Do you find that your audience changes year on year depending on how that edition of the game is being perceived by the gaming public?
Yeah, that's always a tough part is so much of my career and so much of my job is built upon the foundation of the game. So if the game isn't good, then it's not going to be as good of a year for me. So I've kind of tried to minimize that as much as possible, which is why I do more of the real life hockey content in the mix with the gaming content. So there's always going to be a way to make it entertaining. Sometimes I'll mix in like we'll do a real life hockey challenge that then impacts something that I'll do in the game as just something to kind of mix. If the game itself is somewhat stale, we can still have fun with it and still make it entertaining. Obviously, we're always rooting for the game to be the best it can be, and I'm hopeful that next year's will be even better. But yeah, that's kind of how I deal with that.
Along with the real world hockey content that you produce on your YouTube channel and you're streaming on Twitch, you're also really quick to put out, some like tutorial videos and show the new things in the game not long after it comes out. So like how many hours in a typical week does Nasher spend playing and training for competitive play?
Yeah, so I kind of treat it almost like a real athlete does their training. Each morning I'll hop on, and I just actually recently got a personal trainer, so I've been physically getting myself right. Because I feel like the competitive aspect of gaming, really a lot of it, you have to treat yourself like you're an actual athlete. You have to get physically right and mentally right. So focus on that first. I'll do a stream every single night from 5 p.m. Eastern to midnight Eastern, somewhere in there. So we'll do 4 or 5 streams a night, 3 4 hours a day, just to get ourselves ready and good to go.
You talk about looking after yourself physically. What about mentally? What do you do there to prepare?
Yeah, mentally it's just like actual hockey, right? So I take time, every single morning, get my mind right. Just get some quiet time and really just focus on the day and what's in store, and in the same way that you would do any job, right? It's all about organization and scheduling and getting your priorities straight. I find as a content creator, it's very easy to just go and focus on my career and focus on making videos. And sometimes you just need to take a step back from that and really focus on family and friends, and still making sure that even with all this online presence and everything going on online, that you still have those real world connections as well.
Yeah, man, that stuff is always important. We're speaking with Andrew Telfer, Nasher, the hockey YouTuber. Of course, along with streaming and creating content, you moved into commentating for the NHL's Gaming World Championships. How did you find that transition for you?
Yeah, that was a weird one. It's just it's not something that I ever even had on my radar. The NHL had reached out to me, and they saw I was making NHL videos. This was in 2018, I believe. They had asked if I wanted to hop in the commentary booth for their first ever esports event, and my initial response was absolutely not. I had no experience with broadcast. I was terrified of it. I hated being in front of the cameras. It's one thing when I can record everything on my own and edit it how I want. And if you make a mistake, you edit it out, you cut it out, no one ever sees it again. And when we're talking live broadcast, it's a whole different beast. So they had reached out to me and asked, and I said no. And then they kept pushing me, and they said, "Hey, you sure you don't want to give this a try?" And I hopped in, and for the first time, yeah, it was nerve wracking, but I had some great help there with Ardo Cal, who's now at ESPN. He was my fellow commentator there, and he really, gave me a lot of guidance and helped me along the way.
That's awesome, man. Last one from me before I let you go. You've partnered with major gear companies like Bauer. You filmed with NHL stars. Worked for Bleacher Report. Plus, I mean, I'm sure there's much more there on your resume. What's left on the bucket list for Nasher?
My number one thing here, I've said it a couple times, but it's a work in progress here. My goal is to build a roller hockey rink here in my hometown in Columbus, Ohio. We used to have one. This was 10, 15 years ago. It got torn down and apartment buildings got put on top of it. So my goal has been to regrow and rebuild roller hockey here in my hometown to give people that can't afford ice time and just a different way to play hockey. It's a different game, but we find that a lot of the big NHL stars are coming up, starting out in roller hockey. So I'd really like to build that here in Columbus, and we're going to do everything in our power to make it happen.
Awesome, man. Love to hear it. I love everything that you do. Keep doing it, man. Keep growing the game of hockey and just keep being Nasher. Thanks for your time, bro.
Hey, thank you very much. Have a good rest of the show.